It is time for us to now take a look at what is coming up from the SMB across borders, looking at the international stories, making headlines from the business world. Very vital information that you would need for your morning. It's still Wednesday, the 23rd of March.
Very well, and we kick-started with the immediate neighbors, Kenya, where Kenya's central bank has warned of the risks in cryptos. Now, the Central Bank of Kenya says it still does not support cryptocurrency transactions due to the risks involved, even as such dealings increase. Now, according to the Central Bank Governor, Patrick Njogera, Kenyans should avoid to peer-to-peer cryptocurrency transactions since it's not regulated. If Sonko, you can continue on that way. And also, when you look at the investments, according to the Kenyan Central Bank there are people who are excited about cryptocurrencies because they see a sort of investment that they can use as big prices are going up quickly. So they believe that they see a huge return on their investment. But according to the Kenyan governor, they say for every person who wins something, there is hundreds who lose again around there. But awaiting regulations are still highlighting that since 2018, Kenya's central bank has been issuing circulars to local banks, warning them against dealing with cryptos or transacting with firms dealing into currencies. But Njorenge said that the central bank will not only allow such transactions to the business to be controlled, but additionally, measures are being put in place to make sure they protect the public on the use of cryptos. Now, Kenya also is ranked among the P2P cryptos, or the top P2 cryptocurrency transaction volumes, according to the 2021 Global Crypto Adoption Index by the China analysis there. Now, the P2P trading is the act of buying and selling cryptos directly between users without an intermediary. Now, the P2 also trades volume, which makes up a significant percentage of all crypto activities in Kenya. But the volume also making the significant crypto percentages of cryptos, it is a forefront in adapting technology in transactions and also making sure the recent launch of that crypto transaction around Kenyans is still being revised. But the central bank has been in the forefront there in the adoption of the transactions, and the recent launch of the central bank digital currency to settle cross-border payments will be a game changer, according to the governor. And is that money going to exist solely in electronic form, issued and regulated by the Nation Monetary Authority and backed up by government? That still remains a concern in Kenya's government. But the central bank has issued a discussion paper assessing the applicability of the central bank crypto control in the country, and also seeking the comment or public comment on technology. The move indicates that the country is considering adopting the technology. As we conclude on this one, Kenya is a global pioneer in mobile money and huge and robust digital money market. The country has around 68.03 million mobile money accounts at the year ended December 2021, mostly in M-Pesa. And now we're looking at how digital currencies like crypto is now on the move to go into competition with the M-Pesa, if we're to compare, if we were to make a direct comparison around cryptos there. But the Kenya's government is still not buying the idea of crypto transactions in Kenya to make it very, very legal around there.
And away from that, still with the SMB across borders now, we take a look at what is coming up from the Democratic Republic of Congo. as this is more of the details regarding the East African Community bloc. As reports coming in from the East African Community reveal that Democratic Republic of Congo will officially join the East African Community next week, as adding a 90 million market for the bloc. So according to what is actually going to be happening, the East African Community Secretary in General Dr. Peter Mathuki, in a letter to ministries, to the ministers in charge of the East African Community docket in the different member states, in the 6 member states, confirmed that the heads of state would approve the admission on March 29th, which is next week. And when you look at the situation, Kenya's President Uhuru Kenyatta, who is the current chair of the East African Community, did say is actually expected to preside over the summit. That also includes President Samia Suluhu Hassan of Tanzania, including Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, President of Uganda, then His Excellency Paul Kagame, President of Rwanda, Evariste Ndayishimiye, President of Burundi, as well as Salva Kiir of South Sudan will also be one of those particular ones. And according to Mathuki, the summit will be preceded by the 48th extraordinary meeting of the Council of Ministers on Friday, 25th March. And the proposed agenda for the summit will be the consideration of the report of the Council on the admission of the Democratic Republic of Congo into the East African Community bloc. And there are bigger questions. Why does the Democratic Republic of Congo need to be part of this, and why is it very irresistible? The issue here is that the East African Community currently has 193 million citizens, as the Democratic Republic of Congo's admission would raise that to over 280 million people, spanning the Indian Ocean to the Atlantic Ocean. This large market is to benefit of all the member states, as for the Democratic Republic of Congo would be able to buy and sell easily to the rest of the East African community for the benefit of its people, and it being the fact that the Democratic Republic of Congo, quite bigger than the other states of the East African community, simply shows you of what benefit this will create in terms of the marketplaces and the market space, and harnessing of ideal resources viable with benefits and no loss for the Democratic Republic of Congo and the region. Now, for example, a power dam at Inga would supply 60,000 megawatts of clean renewable energy and forever close the debates and hassle of where or not to build hydroelectric dams in East Africa. The mineral resources of the Democratic Republic of Congo and the wider East African community market would make rapid industrialization of the Congo quite possible, with skilled manpower from the region also available as a local resource in there. And of course, there will be a receipt of a letter dated 18th March from the chairperson of the Council of Ministers, informing the Secretariat of the convening of the extraordinary summit on the admission of the DRC into the East African Community on the 29th of March 2022. So the letter or receipt letter was dated 18th, and it will be supplied to the chairman of the Council of Ministers.
Very well, still moving on now, we head to Egypt, where the US is to sell F-15s to Egypt, according to the journals they are highlighting. Now, a senior US general told the Congress around the beginning of this week that the United States will be selling Egypt advanced F-15 or F-15 fighter jet, despite concerns in Washington covering over the Cairo's human rights record. Now, in the case of Egypt, I think they have got good news that they were going to be provided with the F-15s or F-15s, which was a long, hard slog. The Central Command head, General Frank McKenzie, there told the Senate Armed Service Committee. He did not provide details on the sale, and the State Department, which has to sign off on it and yet to officially notify Congress on the sale, as it required or as it is required to do. But they, according to the highlight here, he mentioned that we do not speak to potential armed transfer or sales until or unless they are notified to the Congress, he stated during the committee or the Senate there. But in January, the US announced the approval of 2 major military equipment sales to Egypt, covering 12 C-130 J Super HLS transport and accompanying equipment worth around US dollars 2.2 billion, and ground-based air defense system worth around 355 million US dollars. But the State Department last year put on hold around 130 million US dollars worth military aid to Egypt because of the lack of improvement in human rights situation in the country. And to conclude on this one, several influential members of Congress have urged President Joe Biden to hold back on the military sales and aid until Cairo has recorded or improves its recordings around the country. Now we're looking at how military sales are affecting both countries, the US and Egypt. One of them highlighting the United States wanting to sell the F-15s to Egypt. These are fighting equipment, and according to what they're worth in the Department of State, last year they were holding around 130 million worth of military aid to Egypt. So the country seems not to be ready, according to reports here highlighting that if only President Joe Biden could hold on this one for some time so that they revise their capabilities around Egypt.
I should actually supply those ones to Russia or Ukraine rather, because I still don't know why they're supplying them to the Egyptians. And still with the SMB-ACROSS borders, this time around we take a look at what the UN has to say in regards to the Russia and Ukraine conflicts, as the UN has actually revealed that Russia's invasion has displaced 25% of Ukraine's population. That's quite a huge number if you're to look at that particular one. And about a quarter of Ukraine's population has been displaced less than a month into Russia's invasion. That is according to sources from the United Nations. And Ukraine's population has already been declining for years and dropping from over 50 million in the 1990s to 43 million in 2022. Now, 10 million or more Ukrainians, or roughly 25%, have either been displaced inside their country or have fled as refugees to other countries as Russian forces continue their besiegement of residential communities in Ukraine. Hundreds of thousands have recently fled the port city of Mariupol, where Russian forces have been accused of bombing civilian shelters. The Russian military actually promised safety Sunday to the remaining Ukrainians in Mariupol if they flee the city via humanitarian corridors, but Ukrainian authorities quickly rejected this particular offer coming in from the Russian authorities. And meanwhile, Ukrainian President Zelensky warned that if negotiations with Russia's President Vladimir Putin fail, then that would mean there is a third world war coming in phase. And according to reports that he actually revealed, those are coming in from words coming in from Zelensky, who actually said that if negotiations fail with the Russian president, then there would be a world war. He actually said that he's ready for the negotiations with the Russian president, and he's ready, and he has been ready for the last 2 years, and he thinks that without the negotiations, then there will not be an end to this particular war. And he thinks that they have to use any format or any chance in order to have a possibility of negotiating, the possibility of talking to Putin. But if all these attempts fail, that would mean that there is a third world war. Statements from Ukrainian President Zelensky.
Very well, and also around Egypt, away from Ukraine and Russia, sanctions or conflict there, we still look at how the unsubsidized bread around Egypt is being, bread prices is being now discussed on. The Egyptian Prime Minister sets fixed prices for the unsubsidized bread. Joram, what is that word?
Unsubsidized bread.
Thank you so much. and I will not mention it again, unsubsidized bread. And this report came around March 21st, that is one day back, when Egypt set around a fixed bread there, prices around the bread in an effort to counter-rise the food prices after Russia's invasion of Ukraine closed up the lower priced Black Sea wheat. Now, the Prime Minister, Mustafa, on Monday set on prices for commercially sold bread around 11.50 Egyptian pound, that is $0.66 per kilogram. His office said in a statement there. Now, food prices have been rising in Egypt even before Russia's invasion of Ukraine, but now bread, a politically symbolic staple on which many Egyptians are heavily dependent on, is becoming more expensive as Black Sea wheat exports are disrupted in the market. The price of unsubsidized bread has jumped by as much as 25%. That is a 1.00 to 1.25 Egyptian pound off a loaf. Now, in some bakeries, in 3 weeks since Russia's invasion of its neighbors, flour prices have risen up about 15%, said Atiya Hamad at the Cairo Chamber of Commerce. Now, around there, you have there is a new fixed price now. So far, flat around barley bread have been seeing setting around 0.50. There is a 0.75 and a 1.00 Egyptian pound for loafings weighing around 45, weighing around 65 and 90 grams respectively. But the prices of 40 and 60 and the 80 gram small with Fiano loaves were set at 0.50. And violations of fixed prices will result in fines between 100,000 and 5 million Egyptian pounds, with fixed prices applying for 3 months. The statement also highlighted there. But President Abdul Fattah last week asked the government to set prices for the bread because of the recent prices increased there. But more than 30% of the Egyptian the 103 million population rely on private sector for bread, with the rest buying subsidized bread at the decades old fixed prices around 0.05 pounds per loaf. Egypt is typically the world's largest wheat importer, buying more than 60% of its wheat from abroad, with Russia and Ukraine accounting for about 80% of government and private sector importing last year. So as we conclude on this one, the recent wheat prices increased nearly doubling the annual state spending on imports, around 5.7 US dollars in regards to billion from 3 billion US dollars, according to the study by the International Food Policy Research Institute. So other countries are still battling with food prices hiking. Egypt has come to subside the prices, or trying to make sure they set a fixed price for bread around Egypt.
And a loaf of bread here in Uganda goes for 5,000 Ugandan shillings, I think, a kilogram. Others 4,500. And if you want to create some chaos, also sell that bread. In my history class, I do remember there was a time when we were told during the French Revolution that the Queen by then, Marie Antoinette, came out and actually revealed that if the price of bread is cheap, is expensive, then people should actually go and buy a cake instead. But yet, a cake was actually more expensive by that time. And so
cake
it is more expensive.
More even delicious than
bread. Okay.
That is a personal feeling anyway.
But still with the across borders, and lastly, and still with Egypt, coming in from there, Egypt has devalued the currency at 14% after the Ukraine war prompted the dollar flight. As details coming in from Egypt reveal that Egypt devalued its pound by 14% on Monday after Russia's invasion of Ukraine prompted foreign investors to pull billions of dollars out of Egyptian treasury markets, putting pressure onto the currency. The pound dropped to 18.17 to 18.27 against the dollar, as Refinitiv data showed after having traded at around 15.7 pounds to the dollar since November 2020. The central bank also hiked overnight interest rates by 100 basis points in a surprise monetary policy meeting, as Egypt's central bank governor Tarek Amil told the press conference that the pound had undergone a correction that reflected world and local developments. Now, there are also cases coming in from Egypt as well, higher wheat import prices, as the shortage of dollars have led to the blockage of at the different Egyptian ports after importers could not obtain necessary foreign currency for letters of credit to get their goods cleared, according to the bankers. Now, the war in Ukraine has also left Egypt facing higher costs for its substantial wheat imports and needs, as well as a loss in tourism revenue from Russian and Ukraine visitors to Red Sea resorts. Russia and Ukraine are the main suppliers of wheat to Egypt, which is often the world's largest importer. The higher wheat prices could nearly double annual state spending on wheat imports of $5.7 billion, according to a study last week by the National Food Policy Research Institute, straining government finances and fueling inflation pressure.
Very well, and I think that closes up. That cross-border. But today we've tackled much about Egypt, simply because I think we're coming to the month for Christians around Easter. So we wanted at least to go visit that country where some Christianity history is taking on. But away from that, Joram.
And definitely, when she mentions about Egypt, when you look back at the childhood memories of Jesus Christ, I think he had to flee to Egypt when Herod wanted him dead by the time of his arrival onto the earth. But anyway, away from the religious part of it, let's head into a break. We shall return with business tips, business quotes, and then the business reports. Smart 24, driving business.